Hey guys, so it's dandelion season, and out here where we live in the country, thankfully it's not really a big deal to have dandelions all over your yard. But when we lived in the suburbs before this, we were definitely the only house on our street that always had a yard full of dandelions when everyone else had none. But there are so many reasons to love dandelions and even turn it into delicious things like dandelion ice cream. So we're going to talk all about it and show you how to make dandelion ice cream. So before we jump into picking dandelions here and making dandelion ice cream, just a little update for us on our family. So things are doing well, things are looking up. Our sweet little girl is getting bigger here. She turned 1 month old yesterday, and she's really been just a super sweet baby. So you might hear her from time to time make some noises, but she just comes along for the ride for the most part and really is a super good sleeper, so we're thankful for that. And my leg is healing. I still have the big boot on for now, but the swelling is going down and it's getting better. I go back to the doctor next week. We'll get another x-ray and hopefully see about taking the cast off. So we appreciate all your thoughts and your prayers, and hopefully we'll be out of the cast soon and life will start getting back to normal, and the new normal now is a family of 6. But okay, so jumping into dandelions. So we love dandelions for so many reasons. So where we live now, in a more rural area or in the country, having dandelions is super common, and we have them all over our yard without really feeling weird about it. But before this, when we lived in the suburbs, we were like the only house on our whole street that had a yard full of dandelions when everyone else sprayed their yards and had no dandelions, and our house just stuck out like a sore thumb. But there are so many good reasons to leave dandelions in. So we're gonna go out and pick some dandelions today. But some of the reasons that you might wanna leave dandelions in the ground are that they are awesome food for your pollinators. So in the spring, when things are just starting to come up, dandelions are gonna be one of the first flowers that come up. And so, you know, when there's not much else for those bees and other pollinators to have for food, dandelions are key, and dandelions are gonna give them the food that they need. So that's really important. Dandelions are also super helpful at giving good nutrients to other plants that you might be growing in your area or in your garden. So what dandelions do is they have really deep roots, maybe why you can't get rid of them easily and why they can grow anywhere. They have really deep roots, and they bring those nutrients from deep into the ground and deep into the soil to the surface, giving nutrients to the other plants all around them. They also, with those deep roots, are gonna aerate your soil, making just for better soil quality. So those are just a few of the reasons we love dandelions. They're also super good for you, right? Prior to the last 50 or 100 years, dandelions were seriously prized as such a valuable and loved, even beautiful plant. And part of that was because they just offered so much and had so many medicinal purposes. Pretty much the whole plant can be used. The roots are very common in making dandelion tea, which is super helpful. The leaves you can use in sautés and salads and are super nutritious. And even the flowers can be used, and that's what we're going to be doing today, is using the flowers to make dandelion ice cream. So when you're making dandelion ice cream, you only want to pick the green part of the flower. So when we go out, we'll just pick, I'll just have my kids pick the whole green top part, and then after we do that, we're going to pull the actual the yellow flower off the green part, because you want to try not to get any of that green part in there, because that's going to be pretty bitter. But the yellow dandelion flower is actually really sweet, and it even has a hint of a honey sort of smell and taste to it. And so it pairs perfectly with ice cream. Some other things you can do with dandelion flower are, it's really great in any sort of baked good. So we actually have a recipe on our website for a dandelion cake that we make sometimes. We've made a dandelion donuts. I've seen it in cookies or other baked goods. Dandelion wine is definitely a thing you can make, or dandelion jam or marmalade, or dandelion ice cream, and that is probably our favorite use for these dandelions. So what I do is basically just take our staple vanilla ice cream, we add the dandelions, and it makes a really sweet and delicious ice cream that the dandelions just kind of bring a new level of flavor and deliciousness to it. So this is one of our favorite activities to do every spring with kids. It's really just a really fun way to get kids outside, get them helping, get them picking dandelions, and even teaching them how to pull the flowers from the green parts. So this can get a little bit messy, especially if your 2-year-old is helping, but it's also just a really fun way for them to get involved. So you go out, you pick your dandelions, and then you're gonna de-stem those dandelions by pulling out the yellow petals from all of the green parts. Now, if a few little green parts get in there, not a big deal, but just try to stick with the yellow parts. You can see here, this is our finished bowl. There's definitely a little bit of green in there, but it's not too bad. I don't worry about washing them because I know we don't spray our yard. You do wanna make sure, you know, I try to look, sometimes there'll be bugs on there or whatever, things like that. You'll wanna make sure to leave those ones alone, but for the most part, you just wanna pull the yellow part and that's what you get. Another thing about this recipe is that it's really flexible. So the recipe technically calls for 1 cup of packed yellow leaves, that's what it says, but it's really kind of however much you get is great, and then you're just gonna add it in. So this is how much we ended up with, a pretty full bowl. This is pretty close to 1 cup that we're gonna be doing here, but if you have a little bit less than that, that's okay too. And so from here, all you're gonna do is pour all of your ingredients into a blender. I see a little stem here that I'm gonna yank out. We don't want that in our ice cream. So you're gonna go ahead and, yeah, I can feel like I can keep pulling out these green parts all day long, but at some point you just have to call it good and let it be. All right, so from here you're gonna put everything into your blender. And so I like to say making homemade ice cream is like the best, most nutritious treat around because it's really full of a lot of really delicious but also really nutritious ingredients. So it's gonna be cream and whole milk, and so we get this from we use raw cream and raw whole milk, but you can use cream from the store, that's fine too. And then egg yolks, so we just use raw egg yolks from our chickens, and then a half a cup of honey and vanilla, and then a little bit of tapioca flour. So I'll have the full recipe posted below so you can get all the exact same thing, all the exact measurements there. But I like to add a little bit of tapioca flour because I find that it just helps give it a nice, smooth, creamy texture. Adding the vanilla extract does that too, but I find just a little bit of that just really helps create a creamy ice cream as opposed to a more icy, frozen ice cream texture. Another note, when you're picking the flowers, and this is what I have learned from experience, is you wanna make sure you pick flowers and then you wanna de-stem them right away. Because if you pick your flowers and then let them sit, even for just an hour or two, over time, those dandelion flowers are just gonna close up, and then you're not gonna be able to pull the yellows out of the greens, and so you're not gonna be able to make your ice cream. So you wanna, after you go pick your dandelions, pull the yellow parts out right away, and then just make your ice cream. So you do wanna allow for some time to make this recipe because it is a little bit time consuming to do all that, but super fun. Okay, so you're gonna put your dandelion petals into a blender or a food processor or whatever you have, and then you're gonna add 2 cups of cream. This is super creamy cream. Our cow is just transitioning to starting to eat some of the fresh grass that's out there, and when she is eating fresh grass, her cream gets really thick. All right, so 2 cups of cream, and then 2 cups of cream, and then you're gonna add 1 cup of milk. All right, then you have 4 egg yolks. Gonna add a half a cup of honey. All right, and then a sprinkle of salt, like a 1/4 teaspoon or a half a teaspoon. I don't usually measure it exactly. And then you're gonna do a tablespoon of vanilla extract and roughly a tablespoon of tapioca flour or arrowroot flour if you're adding that. Otherwise, you can definitely just omit it if you don't have it on hand. All right, and then you're gonna blend all this up. All right, so after you get your ice cream blended, you're gonna go ahead and pour that into your ice cream maker. You don't need anything fancy when it comes to an ice cream maker. This was one when we got married like 15 years ago. It's about the most basic Cuisinart model you can find. You can definitely get much fancier ice cream makers today, but this totally works well for us. And if you are looking for an ice cream maker, I highly suggest finding one used, because people get these things, don't use them, and then are just looking to get rid of them. But we love having our ice cream maker, and it's one of our most used kitchen tools. And so, yeah, you're gonna go ahead and pour your dandelion ice cream into your ice cream maker with the frozen bowl and let that churn for like 30-35 minutes until it's a soft serve ice cream texture. Then you're gonna put it into some sort of container, put it in the freezer, and let it set for like 2 to 3 hours. And then after that, you can go ahead and serve it. And that is how you make delicious dandelion ice cream. Oh, one thing to note is, like I said, there are 4 egg yolks in this recipe, so I'm always trying to figure out how to put those egg whites to use. So we're gonna go ahead after this is done and put the egg whites to use in our homemade granola that you add egg whites to, and it's a really delicious, really easy granola recipe to use up those egg whites. So we're gonna go ahead and make that right after this. All right, so that's it. That's how you make super delicious and nutritious dandelion ice cream. So put those dandelions to use and let us know below, how are you using your dandelions this summer? We are always looking to get more ideas, so drop it below in the comments, and we'll see you next time.